Hello there, I've welcome back to some more Disco Elysium. In the last episode, what I did was I made Kim all blurry. No, that's not what I did. I had a shave. I'm looking fresh. I found out some information about Ruby. I still got 2 points to level up. But I had a thought. Another thought. I'm full of them. Looking for the radio for this thing that I want to do before I go and find Ruby, because I feel like that has a sense of finality to it, that if I go and find Ruby, that's going to be the end of things. So I'm going to try and think of another place where I've been. The other place I've been is on the way to Everott's office. That's an office, right? Like Everott's container, but there's like an actual office on the way. So that's what I'm going to try and do. I'd want to go and see what that's about. Just in case I'm right, you know, there might be something in here. Like maybe there's a radio. Maybe I saw a radio in here. I don't remember seeing a radio in here. But you know, I mean, there's this. What's this?
A common office radio, like any of those found in countless waiting rooms, lounges, and other semi-public spaces all over the world.
Kim, how do I get the transceiver out of this thing?
There's usually a little switch somewhere. Ah, yes. It's the one that says release.
The lieutenant points to the side of the radio. Flip the release switch.
The lock disengages with a nice click. You may now safely remove the transceiver unit.
Examine the transceiver.
There's nothing obviously remarkable about it. It's about the size of a common pasta box, with knobs of molded plastic. What else is there to say?
Okay.
If this transceiver were a person, it would be an accountant at a large logistics firm. Perfectly competent, but unexceptional.
Reliable and unassuming. My kind of transceiver.
Yes. Reliable and unassuming are definitely words I'd use
Thanks,
to describe
Kim.
you.
Regardless, the transceiver appears to take your words as a compliment.
Do you think we'll actually be able to reach the coalition with this?
You've surprised me more than once during the course of our investigation. But I have to say, it still seems like a remote scenario.
With its
Okay.
transceiver gone, the radio has ceased its persistent buzzing. It is as silent as a headstone.
Cool. What other missions have I got to do? Find all the armor pieces. I don't think I can get all of them. Responsibility I can do. Trying to offer the figurines I can do. Add more beauty to the wall I can probably do. Determine where the shot came from I think I can do. Find the murder weapon and ask about Ruby in the village is going to be a tough one. But I will give it a good old college try. Right, let's go do the radio thing. Okay. I want to go and tell Suna. Suna! I got the radio! Let's do the thing, yeah! So I think, originally, to get her to sign the document, me shaving would have helped persuade the old lady to do it. Now, I didn't need that because I'm just a Chad. I managed to get her to do it with that regardless, but... yes. I think it would have helped. Oh, maybe it wouldn't have helped, I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure I like the way he looks better shaven than with a beard, but I think for the mental state, for the transformation of self, you need to have, like, do some extreme shit, you know? When I had very, very long curly hair for a long time. For years and years and years. And after I broke up with what is still to this day my longest term girlfriend, it's only 2 years, it's not exactly a long time, but for me it's the longest term relationship I've ever had. I essentially, like, shaved my head entirely. Just because it was like a different self then. I was removing my old self in that way. And moving onward.
Yes, what is it?
I found a radio transceiver. Oh, I still do have one mystery that still needs solving. The radio ghost in the doomed commercial area's electronic doorbell.
The creepy woman! We were wondering about that when we worked there, but I had completely forgotten about it ever since. It must be entroponetic crosstalk, the one you get in radios and long-distance calls. Now it makes sense, with the pail right on the doorstep.
Incredible. This would also explain why we get it on the police radio all the time.
Entroponetic crosstalk.
It's quite common, actually. When the signal gets routed through pail, all kinds of irregularities take place. You may hear snippets of someone else's conversation, or the voice of your former lover, or an echo of an event that took place 100 years ago. Pale is a shroud of memories, and it doesn't really distinguish to whom those memories belong to. You could hear anything.
That makes sense. Thanks for playing that to me.
Anytime.
She smiles. If you see anyone suspicious, say a woman named Ruby.
What? No. No one's suspicious around here.
She has not seen her, sire. It is true.
I found a radio transceiver.
Ah, very good. Let's see what you have.
I found this in an office by the harbour. Use the perfectly adequate transceiver.
Not the most advanced model, but at least everything appears to be in order. Yes, this should serve our purposes.
Thank you.
No further comment necessary.
I believe that means we're ready to get started. I should warn you, once we begin setting up this antenna, we'll need to see the whole process through. There won't be any second chances, any do-overs. You understand?
Okay.
So if there's anything you'd like to get in order before we depart, I suggest you do it now.
Wait, didn't you say we need some kind of power supply?
Ah, yes. I wasn't sure what to do about that, but then I discovered an abandoned power source down by the edge of the bay.
It's obvious. She's referring to your half-sunken Caprice 40.
You mean the motor carriage I crashed into the bay?
Oh, yes. I did notice that it was covered in police livery. Then you already know that the carriage itself is irreparable. But the rear-mounted engine seems to be in fine working order.
Nice.
My intention is to run a power cable from the engine up to the antenna. It won't last forever, but it should give us enough time to establish a connection with Coalition warship Archer.
Okay, hang on. Oh, what kind of stuff should I get in order?
That's up to you. At a minimum, I would make sure you are physically and mentally prepared for an intense and difficult process. Once we begin, there can be no interruptions.
At the very least, you should make sure you're wearing a good pair of gloves.
Radio engineers typically carry overpriced solvent sprays to clean the antenna connections. But in a pinch, some common ammonia works just fine.
Psst. It's the alcohol in the ammonia that's doing the real work. Kinda like with you.
Finally, there's the question of stimulants. Some people prefer to keep legal amphetamines on hand to help with their work. I'm not one of them, but they do exist.
We try to avoid drugs. Abusing stimulants is highly irresponsible.
I don't take them because they make me nauseous. But everyone has their reasons. I don't judge.
Hang on, I need some time to prepare.
That's fine. Return to me when you're ready to go.
Okay. Interfacing. It's 6. It's not particularly high. Can I make it any higher? Interfacing is +2. He said wear gloves. That makes me think he wants me to have interfacing high. I can't make it higher than it is. Right, let's save. This is like, it said no coming back, so it's like a point of no return. So let's save, and if I fuck it up, then you will see the good version. So I'll see you either in a second or right now.
Yes, what is it?
I'm ready now. Let's contact Archer.
Very good. If you'll help me with some of this equipment then.
Back across the water lab. At least we are getting our exercise in today.
If you'll please carry that amplifier, officer. And if you'll take that spool of cable, we should be able to move it all in one trip. And now if you'll just connect that here...
It's done. I believe we are ready.
The lieutenant wipes his brow.
We're ready to try at least. Please put on these headphones. There should be 2 extra sets. I've configured the channels so that only your microphone is set to broadcast, officer. We'll all be able to listen, but anyone we reach will only hear your voice. You will need to transmit your connection request while I attempt to locate the warship's public frequency. You will likely encounter some interference, but it's important to keep transmitting your request until you're acknowledged. Ready?
Yes.
Good. Beginning transmission. Go ahead, officer.
Coalition Warship Archer, this is Lieutenant Harrier Dubois of the Darcien. Please acknowledge.
You're all alone out there, wandering a blasted heath, calling out to the night. But there is no reply, except for the buzzing of invisible machines. The lieutenant looks up at you with a nervous glance. Nervous for who, though? You cannot say.
Try again, officer.
Coalition Warship Archer, this is Lieutenant Dubois. Please acknowledge.
Nein, Liebling. Unseren Jungen nach Redeposten. Einen dieser Dinger.
Hello, Archer, do you acknowledge?
Marianne hat mir erzählt, dass Oscar nicht mehr derselbe ist, seit er auf einem Luftschiff aus Graz zurückgekommen ist. Natürlich halten wir die Psychologen für vollkommen normal. Aber sie hat das Gefühl, seit seiner Rückkehr mit einem Fremden zusammenzuleben.
You can't make out a word of this gibberish.
Keep listening.
Liebling, bitte. Er ist unser einziges Kind. Er kann auch nächstes Jahr zur Akademie gehen.
Keep trying, officer. We'll get a signal through eventually.
Coalition Warship Archer, this is Lieutenant Dubois. If you're there, Archer, please acknowledge.
Again?
Coalition Warship Archer, this is Lieutenant Dubois. Do you acknowledge?
It's gone now.
Kim, don't club my
I
connection.
didn't say anything, Detective.
Someone has been maintaining it. The wiring has been repaired.
An uncomfortable silence falls over the connection.
It's been a long winter. Long and cold.
Maybe it's your twin brother.
I can assure you it's not my twin brother, though it certainly does sound like me.
The lieutenant seems to wince at the sound of his own voice. Could this be more interplanetic crosstalk?
Yes. A particularly eerie specimen. But still just a harmless piece of the past returning to surface.
Right. I just wish I could remember what I was talking about.
Natürlich halten wir die Psychologen für vollkommen normal.
What can we do about it?
What else is there to do? Keep trying.
Coalition Warship Archer, do you acknowledge this is Lieutenant Dubois?
Someone has been maintaining it. The wiring has been repaired.
Dubois, please acknowledge.
Archer, this is Lieutenant Dubois. Can you hear me?
Liebling, bitte. Er ist unser einziges Kind. Warship Archer, please identify.
The signals are getting increasingly mixed. Plucking Archer's signal from this will be like isolating a single strand from a tangle of hair.
It's not working. The crosstalk is simply too strong.
What can we do?
I did not expect simply locating the signal to be so difficult.
She appears to be concentrating very intently.
We must consider several variables. Local anthroponetic conditions, the sophistication of our transceiver, the quality of our connections, and the physics of our antenna itself. Our transceiver is perfectly capable, so there is no problem there. And we're also unlikely to change our local anthroponetic conditions. So, the next step is to thoroughly inspect our connections.
How am I supposed to inspect the connections?
You need to climb up there and look at them for yourself.
She stares at you as though it's obvious, and gestures to colourful cables dangling from the horse's forehooves.
But you don't have the technical expertise.
Someone has been maintaining it.
Something about this setup seems dimly familiar. But you'll be damned if you know what you're supposed to do about it. Images of your body smashed against the pavement flood your mind. This is dangerous.
Okay, but let's do this.
Your gloves give you a solid grip on the metal bar. This feels pleasingly familiar. You don't exactly cut a lithesome figure, but after several moments of scrambling, you manage to hoist yourself atop the monument.
Jesus Christ. I would not be able to do this. The height of it would just be like... I'd panic and fall.
That performance was frankly an embarrassment.
Examine the connections.
The connection itself is nothing more than a little braid of exposed wire wrapped about the hoof of the horse. A copper fetter, it cannot slip. The whole monument is covered in a thin but durable layer of oil and grime. It's obvious no one has cleaned it in years. The programmer mentioned ammonia, but anything alcoholic should dissolve the oils, creating a cleaner and clearer connection.
Pour some alcohol over the connections.
It takes a few moments, but the alcohol gradually begins to break down the oils surrounding the copper wiring.
Is this really the time, Detective?
It's all right, Lieutenant. He's simply cleaning the connections.
Once the oils have been dissolved, you wipe off the connections with your sleeve and reattach the cable.
Did that help?
It seems to have made some difference, but unfortunately not enough to alter the overall situation. Unser einziges Kind. Kann auch nächstes Jahr zur Akademie gehen. Short of changing the shape of the antenna, I'm not sure what else we can do from here. And the lorries are all jammed together, so that's unlikely to happen.
How do we change the shape of the antenna?
What do you mean? You adjust the antenna manually, with your hands.
What would changing the shape of the antenna do?
Ideally, narrow the receiving mode so that we can isolate the war's signal and eliminate the crosstalk. And if you don't know what you're doing, of course you could just make it worse. I'm afraid we're out of alternatives. You're just going to have to go for it.
Right.
She's right. The responsibility is yours, and yours alone. There's no turning back now.
I have to give myself more chance by putting a point into interfacing, obviously. Is it like a 50-50? Pretty good 50-50, but still a 50-50. Also, you may notice I got alcohol in my hands. That's because I failed the first time I went to go buy some. It turned out doing the alcohol did nothing, but how was I supposed to know that?
Your grip is firm, yet controlled.
Beautiful.
The swelling in your headset guides your hands as much as your hands guide the bronze horse head. It's almost like you're hearing through the horse itself.
Indeed.
That's very good. Just a bit more to the left. Nein, Liebling.
The signal is clear. The storm has passed. This is another voice, a live voice on the other end of this invisible bridge you've established.
Try it now, officer.
Coalition Warship Archer, this is Lieutenant Dubois of the RCM. Please acknowledge.
Lieutenant Dubois, this is Coalition Warship Archer. We are acknowledging and accepting you.
Ah, excellent. You are connected. Now be quick. I don't know how long I'll be able to preserve the signal.
This is it. You're finally getting to speak with those who hold real power.
Beautiful.
And by that they mean the ones with the guns and the warships. There is so much you wish you could ask. Your efforts have bought you some time, but you can't forget
La
what you're
responsabilité.
really here for.
Please be advised that you are speaking on a public frequency. What is your request?
Listen, I really need to reach the Committee of Responsibility.
Acknowledge. To reach the committee, all you need to do is fill out the appropriate request form and submit it to the Liaison for Public Affairs. If the liaison accepts your request, you will be invited to address the committee at their next quarterly public hearing. We believe the next hearing is scheduled for July.
She seems very satisfied by the answer. Okay. Convincing you to address the committee.
This isn't about you.
Yes.
Not really. It may have been at a certain point, but you've let go of that perspective. This is about your responsibility to all of Revachon.
Oh, yes.
Now, take a deep breath. Look upward. You don't have to bear the burden alone.
Listen to me. The situation in Martinez is a powder keg. If the Coalition doesn't intervene, many people will die.
What? How do you know this?
I've uncovered things in the course of my investigation that lead me to believe we're headed to a violent confrontation between the Union and the Wild Pines.
Lieutenant Dubois, this is a very serious claim. Please describe the situation as succinctly as possible. We will forward your summary to the committee.
There's papers rustling in the background. She's clearing her desk, preparing to take notes. There, you've wedged your foot in the door. Now, if you can show the Coalition how much they're needed, they'll have no choice but to intervene. You have the facts. Just lay them out beneath the cold light of reason.
The Wild Pines have recently lost control of a paramilitary death squad called Crenell.
Please continue. We're listening.
And, well, the Union's demand for working control of corporate Bellwood seems completely unworkable.
Was there anything else the committee should know?
If she's right, you can't hear anything.
Detective, before you answer that, I urge you to weigh your words extremely carefully.
Yes, I've also discovered an entropinetic phenomenon here in Martinez.
We're afraid we must ask you to repeat that, Lieutenant Dubois.
Afraid? What is she afraid of? Her tone has shifted. She's no longer herself.
I said I've discovered an entropinetic phenomenon here in Martinez.
Acknowledge. Listen very carefully, Lieutenant. We're going to ask you a series of questions.
Yes.
It is imperative that you answer as directly and truthfully as you can. Do you understand?
Yes.
Good. First question. Are you currently in the vicinity of Surrey, the North Arcade Islands, or near Pale Offshore Platform Isola Indico?
No, I'm in Martinez.
Very good. Next question. Would you describe the phenomenon as internal to the Isola or external to the Isola?
What she means is, actually, you have no idea what those words could mean in this context.
External.
Next question. At the time, did you experience sense objects?
Can you elaborate?
Yes. Examples may include sound, memory, light.
It was a kind of gradient.
Let's go on. Final question. Were you alone?
How could you expect anyone to stay around with all your standard issue thoughts and opinions? There's no need to overthink this.
We repeat. Were you alone?
No.
You hear the sound of a page ripping.
Thank you, Lieutenant. Please stand by while we transmit our summary.
A long winter.
I'm not sure how much longer I can keep the signal clear, officer.
You have to sooner, just a little longer.
Lieutenant Dubois, this is Collision Warship Archer. Please acknowledge.
Archer, I can't hold on much longer.
Thank you for standing by. We are authorized to report the Committee of Responsibility for Reversal has acknowledged and accepted your request. They would like you to address your matter to the committee directly, as their earliest convenience.
Just tell me where to meet them.
Remain where you are. Collision Shuttle Laurel is setting a course for your position. They will arrive momentarily. Stand by.
Okay, so the reason I said external is because I think they mean, is the problem contained within the Isola? Or is it a problem that will extend beyond it? And I think this is a rip in the fabric of reality that will extend far, far beyond.
To the southwest, one of the smaller aerostatics that hover above the city breaks from its holding pattern. Coalition Shuttle Laurel begins executing a slow turn, drawn by an invisible wire.
So? They're really coming.
The lieutenant adjusts his microphone and slowly looks up toward you.
Well, what now?
I guess we wait.
Yes, and then?
What do you mean?
You've accomplished your side task. You've contacted Coalition Warship Archer. I suppose what I'm asking is whether we are about to lose you to the moral intern.
Kim, have you ever considered that maybe our case isn't that important?
I don't. What are you saying, detective?
That if we want to make a real difference in the world, we have to look at the real problems.
The lieutenant takes a moment to compose his thoughts.
Detective, each of us has our part to play in the world. My part is to solve crimes. I am under no illusion that my role isn't a minor one in the scheme of things. But I embrace it because it's my role, and it's yours too, detective, whether you accept it or not.
The lieutenant's final words are nearly swallowed by the roar of the aerostatic's main rotors.
Lieutenant Dubois, this is Collision Warship Archer. We have been instructed to inform you that the Laurel arrived at your position. Please acknowledge.
No shit. How are they supposed to hear your acknowledgement over the thundering of their own rotors?
Acknowledged, Archer. This is Lieutenant Dubois.
Thank you. The Committee of Responsibility for Revachol has authorized us to offer you an immediate extraction. Do you accept?
I accept, Archer. Get me out of here.
Acknowledged. Laurel has initiated the extraction procedure. Stand by.
Marianne hat mir erzählt, dass Oscar nicht mehr derselbe ist, seit er auf einem Luftschiff zurückgekommen.
Weeks later, no answers about extracted cop. The condition and whereabouts of an RCM officer extracted by a coalition aerostatic 2 weeks ago remain unknown. The dramatic maneuver witnessed by dozens near the North Roundabout has reportedly increased tensions between the citizens of Martinez, the RCM, and coalition authorities. Early reports that the lieutenant was investigating entropinetic phenomena along the coast have not been confirmed. According to an official statement given by the RCM, the lieutenant was in Martinez as part of a murder investigation. A coalition representative declined repeated requests for comment.
I got Committee of la Responsabilité. Someone should do something about this. 0.6% of players have the achievement. Extremely rare. Anyway, we're going to load back in. And now it's as if I never got the alcohol, I never did anything. So we're back in the mainline reality now. And now I will not confront the ship. So that's the canon ending for me. For my run, the canon ending is that the hole in the pail was deeply unsettling enough that it took Harry's mind over to the idea that he should be investigating that more than anything else. And that ultimately a murder case is important, but it's not as important as a fabric tear in reality destroying everything. Now, in this side canon, this is what happens if I choose not to investigate it. That I think if I just have a snap realization that I'm being a fucking crazy person and that I'm not going to do that.
You see a once bright mural towering above you. The signage has peeled off over the years, but you can still make out Feld Electrical R&D. A slogan used to intertwine with the loops a long time ago. Now, only a shadow of peeled letters remains. It says, tomorrow is just a whisper away.
Tomorrow's just a whisper away.
Looks like tomorrow never came.
The lieutenant raises the collar of his bomber jacket. Let's step closer.
Above the mural, a collapsed roof, broken windows set in walls that are cracking and will soon also fall, and the coastal breeze rustling and sighing in the remains of the edifice. Feld Electrical. How ironic. All these dark rooms. Feld Electrical, you only know them as a small company that makes ink cartridges. Looks like they used to be big. There's something in the wind. Sometimes the only way to go forward is to fail first.
Why do I feel like I know this place?
Indeed. Somehow you knew it was here. An urban ruin gutted by looters that once used to consume money and dispense warmth and light.
Could Ruby be in there?
In there? She could. Or she could be in the identical room over there. Or in that boat shack. In that church tower, maybe.
Why single out this one building?
Listen to the wind. Found the empty trap, heard Leonard's true story, reconstructed execution, confronted the pigs, established the nightclub, discovered the anomaly, death notification, found the jacket.
Even though you're sure you succeeded, all is quiet. There is no cold hand brushing against your forehead, no rustle in the reeds. The wind has died down. The ruin in front of you is silent as a tomb.
What was I even attempting to do here?
Trying to talk to the wind, the city. Whatever you thought would happen did not, and now you're just standing there in the pale of the morning, with your hands fallen to your side. Is trying to talk to the city something you've done before? Is it in your secret repertoire? A trick for when you're out of ideas?
She could be anywhere. How do we find her?
How do we? I was really hoping she'd be in the village.
The lieutenant tries to get a hold of himself.
She's probably north of the village, and this place is a peninsula. We already scanned most of the outdoor areas on our wild cryptid hunt, so we have an understanding of the geography, at least. And then there's the church. We've already searched that and can rule it out. I know it doesn't feel like progress, but exclusion is a step too. Anyway, we do it the old-fashioned way, sector by sector. Go over the whole peninsula, ask the locals, enter the places where we can enter first, like we did in the village.
And if that fails, if we don't find her?
Then, if we're desperate, we can look where we can't enter. Bunkers, storm drainage, this place. I'm sure it won't come to that.
He looks behind him in the dark red box crumbling across the chasm.
Walk the coast, the old boardwalk, the reeds. You can always come back here and talk to the wind again. Look where it already got you. Buckle up and raise your collar. This search is going to be wet and cold.
Listen to the wind again.
Suddenly, there's a sigh, carried on the molecules around you, moving, flowing from high pressure to low pressure, like that of a woman emptying her lungs. She wraps the collapsing stone box in front of you in her breath, flowing through it.
Where does it go?
In through the collapsed roof, flowing down a concrete staircase to the basement, sweeping away footprints in the dust on the stairs, and then the beach below the boardwalk, its winding tunnels, a whisper away.
What's happening?
She's down there.
Say, I think she's down there, below this building.
Okay. Why?
Ever since I woke up, maybe even before, been getting these strange cold spells.
Good, good, yes. Cold spells. So basically your hangover is telling you she's down there?
We've looked everywhere else.
Right. How do we get in there? The doors were on the collapsed side of this building. They're gone, basically.
There's a ladder next to the sign. Perhaps we can climb it, enter through the roof?
Perhaps you can climb them. We are not climbing anything. I'm 43 years old, and I plan to live to see 70.
Okay. Climb the ladder or find another way into the Feld building. Oh. This is down pipe too. Have a look in the pipe.
An old pipe peeks out from beneath the rotten boards of the boardwalk. Could this be an alternative path into the Feld building? A building like this must have multiple doors serving various functions. Perhaps a basement access.
Come closer and look in.
Your eyes slowly begin to adjust to the darkness inside the drainage pipe. The lieutenant looks over your shoulder.
Could we get into the Feld building through the pipe?
Given that this isn't a martial arts thriller, it's highly unlikely, and not without risk to our health either. However, the pipe suggests there may be an entrance to the basement around...
The lieutenant pushes aside the reeds and looks around.
And it's right here. A maintenance door.
He points to a rusted metal double door on the right of the pipe, obscured by the reeds.
It's jammed shut. The subtle approach isn't going to work on this one. Oh yeah. Big boy time. This needs you to put your back into it.
What's in there?
A thin layer of snow gleams inside the pipe.
Okay, what else?
As your eyes adjust, you see some trash. Crumpled up newspapers, cigarette butts. Someone has half-heartedly spray-painted skulls on the right side.
And
nothing. Broken glass from bottles thrown against the walls of the pipe. A syringe.
Okay, let's leave. I've got so many negative physical instrument right now because of this bloody thing. I can get much more physical instrument if I put the shirt on, for example. Take the tie off. I've got +1. That's actually a +3. So I should have 6 now. Which means I need to roll a 9, which is still pretty hard. Is there anything that's lowering my physical instrument? No. Okay.
Behind the pipe.
So I guess I've got to go on the roof. Maybe I can get the roof and open the door from the other side. We'll cross that bridge next time. Thanks very much for watching. I'll see you guys then when we try and do what we've got to do. See you then. Goodbye.